Whether or not there is life after death has been widely debated for many centuries. Many people who have been declared clinically dead have been jolted back to life, some of them unwillingly, after experiencing very powerful, benign presences and seeing lights that beckon them onward to an unknown but unmistakably beautiful and transcendent place. Since this has happened innumerable times over the centuries, sometimes to people who had no prior belief in God, many think that this is proof positive that there is indeed an afterlife. Clearly, the presence of heaven is a major tenet of Christianity, a place where souls go to enjoy a theosis, or union, with God and the infinite. Other faiths, such as Hinduism, feature central ideas about the presence of an afterlife, even multiple afterlives. Hello and welcome to KYC News. Please don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon. Nobody can say for sure what occurs once we pass away. And it's the unknowable that we shall all encounter. What does it matter if we are here forever? What if there were an afterlife? A 2013 study found this to be the case. And some individuals, similar to Robert Lanza, have put forth the hypothesis that death is merely a creation of our imaginations. According to the idea, death has no physical limits that separate it, and as a result simply said, it isn't real. You've received acceptance training. We see the sky as being blue. However, if our brain cells changed would fool us into believing the sky was green, our understanding of reality possibly all due to flawed programming. The sky is also blue, or is everything only in our minds? If these were to be our final moments on Earth are all simply deceptions, when do you quit being alive and become dead? Remember that dying is a process first, not unqualified. And in 95% of cases, the procedure begins when the heart ceases to beat. Then comes your muscles relax as your breathing ceases. Only a matter of time will tell prior to your brain dying, but you haven't crossed over yet. Aware, an investigation during resuscitation, Be Aware regarded the thousands of cardiac arrest survivors who had been given the death sentence. Several of those questioned recalled the precise time of their demise, and they claimed to have heard and seen the circumstances that led to their resuscitations. How is that even doable? Well, it appears that implies that you may overhear the doctor pronounce you dead. 9% of individuals who had a description of a near-death experience float outside of their body shackled by an ethereal cord. Despite the fact that you might hear everything, without oxygen or blood flowing to your organs, your body would remain unconscious. Your muscles start to stiffen when rigor mortis sets in, other cells would be starting to function. The following 12 hours, your body would begin to completely shut down. And at this point, some genes cause inflammatory cells to proliferate. Used to clean termed glial cells, a part of your brain. These cells would keep multiplying and flourish when your body gets cooler and your backup systems turn off. These zombie genes would create appendages with the appearance of arms, even as the genes in your brain decay. But after your passing, before infrared photography was invented, seances were frequently held in families, as well as friends that desired to talk to their departed relatives. We now have the means to disprove a phony spiritual experience. However, as there is no concrete evidence for life after death, it makes sense why so many people take comfort in the idea of discussing to their cherished deceased. If we could demonstrate something, that is, others were waiting for us. Once we have left our bodies, it's possible that we'll lose sight of this life. However, it's possible that death will not be a spiritual experience at all. Rather than a white light, it's possible to see ones and zeros. Google's director of engineering, Ray Kurzweil, suggests that we might upload online doppelgangers of our brains. Suppose your mind was uploaded toward the cloud. The server would continue to function as long as your mind does. Therefore, you could consider investing in backup storage. If we could establish that there is an afterlife, you may perceive your life and yourself as with a fresh sense of awe and gratitude for what you now possess. However, what if you were pressed for time? To value your life here on Earth? What if you had a 24-hour lifespan? That's a tale for another what if, I suppose. What is death? Death occurs when the heart stops beating. We call this death by cardiopulmonary criteria, and it is how death is defined for more than 95% of people. A person stops breathing and their brain shuts down, causing all life processes to cease. More recently, with the birth of modern intensive care medicine and the ability to artificially keep people's hearts beating, doctors like myself can keep a patient's heart beating longer. Where people may have suffered irreversible brain damage and brain death, this leads to a situation where the brain has died, but the person's heart is still beating, so legally, they are declared dead based upon irreversible brain death, or death by brain death criteria. This happens in a small fraction of the cases where people are declared dead. For millennia, death was considered an irreversible event and nothing could restore life. During the last decade, we've realized it's only after a person has died that the cells inside their body, including the brain, begin their own death process. We used to think that you had 5 or 10 minutes before brain cells died from a lack of oxygen, but we now know that's wrong. You have hours, if not days, before the brain and other organs in the body are irreversibly damaged after death. It's actually the restoration of oxygen and blood flow back into organs after a person's heart stops, but is then resuscitated that paradoxically leads to accelerated cell death. So, this accelerated secondary injury process is what we need to combat in medicine now. What is a death experience? I call it an experience of death because that's what it is. People report a unique cognitive experience in relation to death. They may have a perception of seeing their body and the doctors and nurses trying to revive them, yet feel very peaceful while observing. Some report a realization that they may have actually died. Later, they develop a perception or a sensation of being pulled towards a type of destination. During the experience, they review their life from birth until death, and interestingly, this review is based upon their humanity. They don't review their lives based on what people strive for, like a career, promotions, or an amazing vacation. Their perspective is focused on their humanity. They notice incidents where they lacked dignity, acted inappropriately towards others, or conversely, acted with humanity and kindness. They re-experience and relive these moments, but also, what's fascinating, which sort of blows me away because I can't really explain it, is they also describe these experiences from the other person's perspective. If they caused pain, they experienced the same pain that other person felt, even if they didn't realize it at the time. They actually judge themselves. They suddenly realize why their actions were good or bad, and many claim to see the downstream consequences of their actions.